And good morning. Once again, welcome back to the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg. Happy Tuesday to you. Here joining us in the studio is none other than Zach East. He's the Director of Sustainability for United Way of Southwest Michigan. Good morning, Zach. Good to have you here.
Good morning, Ken. Thanks for having me, as always.
Absolutely. And tell us just a little bit of what's happening at United Way of Southwest Michigan this week. What's on your mind?
Well, we've got plenty of things that are always going on. There's a great deal of work that goes on within United Way's walls, and certainly outside of those walls to the 70 plus different programs that we allocate funding to across 49 different organizations. And that's just within this term. But there are lots of questions that people have about the work that United Way does. And in particular, one place I think that's a great area to discuss is who is the group of people that United Way really focuses our impact toward, because you can't, of course, chase every single level of program that is out there and that exists. And there
Right.
are certainly a lot of folks who are in a level of poverty that is just, terrible. But there are a great deal of programs that are also funded for folks who are in a level of poverty that are, I won't say well funded, but they're funded enough that the programs that are sort of in the middle, if you will, need a little more assistance. And that's kind of where United Way focuses. So we've talked about in the past, certainly between you and I, Ken, but
Mhm.
also in the commercials that we have here on WSJM, where we talk about the ALICE population. So ALICE, as a reminder, is asset limited, income constrained, employed people. These are people who are doing well enough, but they might be one crisis away from actually dipping below that ALICE threshold and maybe perhaps even into poverty.
Right.
So the best example might be somebody who has a family of three and they live right here and they're certainly employed, but maybe they're paycheck to paycheck, and they get in a car accident and suddenly things spiral out of control because they've lost their main mode of transportation. They're waiting for body work and an insurance company. They may not get back the full vehicle and full vehicle value in which they
Mhm.
had. And so suddenly all of that money that they had wrapped up in something that existed, of course, suddenly isn't there. They're trying to find other things. It's disrupted their day to day. Suddenly they have moved into a level of crisis. And that's the population of people that we are looking to impact the most, this ALICE population. And there is unfortunately, a large amount of research that helps us actually steer the work that we do. It's good that we have that data, but it's unfortunate that this many people exist within this level of ALICE. So, for example, Ken, statewide, there's a pretty large amount of growth that's unfortunately occurred in the ALICE population since the pandemic.
Mm.
That's not uncommon. A lot of other states saw the same thing because of how people's lives changed drastically
Sure.
from the pandemic, especially. So in Michigan, of the 4 million plus households that were surveyed in 2022, 13% earned below the federal poverty level. 28% of those households were what we consider ALICE. Together, 41% of households in Michigan are below the ALICE threshold. That's a pretty big amount of folks to have
Mm.
to take care of in one way or another with programs across the area.
Yeah, and
So,
again, just to remind people what it stands for, ALICE is Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed Individuals. So people that are trying to make it work, and like you said, they're just one crisis, and sometimes maybe even just one paycheck away from having a big financial crisis on their hands.
yeah, and that is, I think, a group that a lot of folks can relate to, either knowing people who were in or they're actually in it themselves
Yeah.
because of whatever condition that's going on. But obviously, it's no secret we've got some economic stuff that's continuing to persist just based on a whole level of different stuff that's going on, different factors over the last several years. And that is unfortunately making these numbers rise. Even if I look at just numbers here in Berrien County, we talked about the state average of Alice households being 28%. Berrien County's rate is 27%. So we're
Mm.
a little bit below the national or the state average, I should say.
Yeah.
But As numbers come out in April for 2023, we're likely to see that number increase just based on how things certainly went in 23, but also as we know in 24, they weren't fantastic either for a lot of families in that area.
And this is important for United Way of Southwest Michigan to not only have visibility, but to bring visibility of that population that's served by the United Way organizations in our area.
Yeah, really. What we do as a reminder as to how United Way works is when you give, you're really helping to give once. That money gets leveraged and gets used throughout different allocation processes for organizations that are coming to us that meet what we have put in our impact agenda, which is basically serve these folks who are in the ALICE population who are at potential high risk of dipping into poverty. If you center your programs around this, Mr. and Miss Nonprofit in the area, if you center your programs around this, we will help more people in the end. And so that's really what we try to do, is make sure that the programs that we work with in the impact partners that we work with, the 49 that are currently on our allocation list, that those folks truly understand who these people are, and that they are creating and centering programs around this group of people so we can affect the most change.
Okay. I feel like we're a little bit better up to speed right now for some of the numbers that we need to be looking at, and that ALICE population and United Way of Southwest Michigan. What do you want people to do?
I would love it if you could go to uwsm.org, of course, for more information about United Way of Southwest Michigan. But if you're a numbers person, you want to dive a little deeper into the ALICE population and some more stories about who they are, and especially county-wide statistics, we've got them all at unitedforalice.org.
Okay. All right. Zach East, Director of Sustainability at United Way of Southwest Michigan, unitedforalice.org or uwsm.org. You can find all the information that you need there. Thanks, Zach. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Ken.